Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. I'm EJ Scott. Today, my guest is actor and improviser Derek Miller. Before we get into what we talked about, let me give myself some plugs. You can find me on Twitter at EJ Scott and the podcast at EJ Podcast. My website, ejscott.com, also has the podcast there, as well as other stuff. I'm on Instagram at ejscott1106. And there's a documentary about me called Running Blind on iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play, digital copies only, about 12 marathons I ran in 2012 blindfolded. What? Why would I do that? Well, I am losing my eyesight from an eye disease called choroideremia, and it runs in my family. And that year, and really every year, I try to raise money and awareness for the cause. So you can go and pay $2 or $3 for a rental or buy the digital copy on Amazon, Google Play, or iTunes, and check out what I did that year. It's only about a 30-minute documentary, and I think it'll be well worth your time and money. So go check that out. I guess that's about it. And now Derek Miller is a friend of mine that I've known for a long time. And he recently announced that he was moving to London. And I said, well, hey, before you leave, come on the podcast and let's shoot the shit a little bit and talk about improv and acting and all that good stuff and why you're moving and family. He's married, he's got a kid and all that. So that's what we talked about. And that's what he did. So it was good talking with him because I haven't had a chance to have like a conversation with him in a very long time. And I think he's over there now. It's been a little more than a month, 5 weeks since we talked. So I'm pretty sure he's over there now. Well, he was my second coach, improv coach of all time. So it was good chatting with him. Talented guy, funny guy. We had some laughs, shared some stories and memories from last month, June 14th, 2018. Please enjoy my talk with Derek Miller. Hi, Derek.
Hi, EJ.
How's it going?
Good. This is fantastic. I love
Thanks for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
I've known you a long time now.
Yeah, really long time.
I moved out here in 03.
03.
Summer of 03.
Okay.
So it's probably when we met.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you jumped in right away.
I jumped
doing
in right
improv
away.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think what year that was. Gosh, man.
2003. I moved out in July 03 and then started taking classes at I.O. in August.
Nice.
Right afterwards.
And then did I coach your first team? Was that the first team?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Saucebox.
Yeah. Well, that was such a great crew. I mean,
then you left.
And then I left, and then Dave Holmes took over, correct?
Holmes took over.
Yeah.
And then I quit.
We had a good little run, though. Yeah.
We did.
But that was great. You got Scott Gimple on there, and Nick, and really good people.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a fun team.
Who else was on? Who's the Megan Kelly?
Mm-hmm. And Amanda Oley.
Amanda
Patent.
Yeah.
Who else was on there? Josh. Not Josh. Sean Cowig was on that.
Was Cowig on there? Okay.
Yeah, it was a good team.
Yeah, for sure.
15 years ago.
A long time ago. Was that your first? I wasn't your first team.
I'd coached a couple before that.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was a great team.
And when did you move out?
I moved out in '98. To LA.
Wow.
That's what I like. I'm moving in 2 weeks, and it's the 20th anniversary of when I moved to town.
Wow.
So I kind of like the cleanness of that. A nice, crisp exit. So I came.
If it was 18 years, you'd be like, it's not as cool.
It's not as cool. 20, that's pretty spot on. So I came in '98. It was like the end of the swingers era of LA, and yeah.
From Chicago?
From Chicago. Well, Chicago, I did go and lived in England almost a year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had a student visa. And my first job actually out of school was working as an actor on it was called Living History. So it was on this Sir Francis Drake ship. So I was a pirate on this Living History ship, which was just down from the globe. So I like that I'm returning to England now with a little more under my belt. Like then I had I had no money. I would walk. I would do improv shows up in Camden, and I lived in Elephant Castle, which is like a 3-hour walk. And because I wouldn't have enough money, so I'd walk there after the shows, and so it's kind of nice going back now with some perspective and some credits and everything else.
What was improv like back then in England?
This group was kind of cool. They were trying to do improvised one-act plays, which I'm like,
That's right. That's long form.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, well, there's, Harold and there's all this stuff. So I was keen to kind of jump in with them. They were great. They were good. There's 2 Australian guys, 2 English guys, and then me. And I only did like 4 or 5 shows with them in the time I was there.
Okay,
it was in the pub that Oasis hung out in.
Really?
Camden, yeah, or at least I think it was Liam's pub, but it was really funny. But yeah, so
Did
that's
you always
cool.
love improv?
Always, yeah. I grew up in Chicago, and it was kind of like part of the nomenclature if you were an actor. So even as a kid, there was always improv something. And then I did the Piven workshop in Evanston, which, is Joyce and Byrne, and then, the Cusacks all came out of there, Aidan Quinn. And so it was very improv-y in high school. And this was kind of cool, my high school theater teacher, when he was gone, he would let me sub the class. There would be another teacher there, but he would let me do improv games, the whole class, with the advanced theater class. So that's how much I was into it then, whatever that was, 93.
Wow.
So
you were hooked right away.
Yeah.
And then you went to University of Indiana.
I did, yeah. And then I started a group there with Jill Benjamin.
Full frontal
comedy, yeah. And they're still going. They're 25 years in.
And then Samantha Bee stole your name.
Yeah, and then Samantha Bee stole the name.
What is that about?
Yeah, come on. It was pretty funny at the time. Like, it was a name that was quickly, went out of fashion really fast because it was like, we're trying to be clever because it was like, full frontal nudity was just a thing on TV. It was like, they couldn't show it. I remember it was like a big stink when Dennis Franz showed his butt on NYPD Blue. it was like a thing. So we're like, we'll take this name. And then we're like, well, it's about the frontal lobe. It's
okay.
Like, frontal lobe is smart comedy, even though we were using a tawdry name. Yeah.
And doing fart jokes.
Yeah.
So what'd your parents do?
My dad is a doctor in Chicago. And OBGYN, and he's awesome. He taught at Northwestern, and he's still practicing. He's, 72 and still doing it. He loves it. He loves delivering babies. And
wow.
So, yeah. And then my mom was a homemaker, and they were divorced when I was real little. So we kind of split the difference between the north and south suburbs. And,
okay.
Yeah, had an awesome stepdad who was in insurance, and yeah.
So how old were you when they divorced?
I was young. I was like 5. I was pretty little.
Young.
Yeah, my brothers were like babies, just born.
Because you have twin brothers.
Yeah, I got twin brothers. I'm the oldest of 6, actually. There's 4 of us, and then I have 2 half sisters that are in Chicago still. Yeah.
Okay. You close with everybody?
Yeah.
I met your twin brothers.
They're actors here.
Long time ago.
They're still around. I forced them to take an improv class last year for the first time ever.
For the first time? What took so long?
No, he's like, well, that's your thing. I'm like, you guys be good at it because they're funny, and they were great.
Ay.
Yeah.
Did you coach them or teach them or anything?
No, I let them do their thing. I went to their class show though, and it was like a proud parent.
Yeah.
I was like taking video and camera.
Where'd they take it?
They did it at the Nerdist School.
Oh, I Nerdist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's pretty cool.
All right. So you were 5 when your parents divorced. What's that like for a 5-year-old? Do you know what's happening? Not really, right? You don't know what divorce is.
No, I mean, it definitely, I think just from the emotional side of the parents, I was like super affected by it in a way that was, and we also moved around a bunch too. Like my mom was just kind of trying to figure out where to go.
Before the divorce?
No, after. So I think that on top of it was kind of, I was a very emotionally soft kid. Like I was always going to the principal's office. It was mostly for crying or being upset. Like I was very tender, so it wasn't for being a bad kid.
It's good. Acting sounds right.
Yeah, acting was the right place for me to go.
Right path to go. So she was moving around afterwards within Illinois or all over?
Yeah, just kind of all around the burbs.
Okay.
The Chicago burbs. But yeah, no, she...
Just finding a good fit.
Yeah, and then we found an awesome place. I ended up going Homewood, Flossmoor was the town I ended up really kind of spending most of my time in. And I went to Homewood Flossmoor High School. But it was cool. Like we were right on the train line into the city, and there's this weird little roundabout in the town. It actually looks like an English village, so it was kind of perfect for a family of Anglophiles to settle there.
What made you go to Indiana?
I went for theater because I knew it was a good theater school. It was like at the time I think it was in the top 10 or something. I'd been offered a few scholarships for musical theater at a couple other places. I didn't get into Michigan. I really wanted to go to Michigan. I would have been in class with Josh and Funk and Naima, and that would have been pretty cool.
Been pretty cool.
And Northwestern, I didn't get. So then Indiana was a great backup, and that's why I went down there. I'm really glad I did because it's such a beautiful school.
Yeah.
And then the opportunities there were so nice too. Like, but they started this group, and we got paid by the union, and I got paid by Ben and Jerry's in town. We performed there, so like we made money every year to like all go on spring break together and stuff. So
Ben and the ice cream?
the ice cream place, yeah. Like we performed in the ice cream shop once a week, and then we would do like fraternity gigs. We were very industrious.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was also that kid in college who like I called IO in Chicago when we had just started the group, and I go, hi, I want to workshop with Del Close.
Yeah.
Like I just had the balls at 19 years old. They're like, okay, how much money do you have? I'm like, how much is it? And like, this much. Great. So we'd go and do these workshops with Del.
Oh, you did?
A bunch of high school kids. Yeah.
How much was it?
It was like nothing. Literally, in retrospect, it was like $400 for the day, which I mean was 20 years ago. But
yeah,
I mean, they could have charged twice that, and we would have found the money because we didn't know. We were just college kids.
So what was Del like?
It was awesome. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like half the group's like, "Who's this crazy homeless guy who's yelling at us?" And then the rest of us were kind of enamored by the freneticism of it all, and the kind of manic energy and the left field kind of thoughts, and it was cool. You guys do some weird stuff. I mean, we were throwing objects into cauldrons and exploding in the sky, and and then suggestions were on fire in the back of the room. Then it was just very trying to rile us, and I love it. I think it still affects my teaching to this day. Yeah, for sure. The passion.
Well, I remember you as a coach. I never had you as a teacher per se, but as a coach, I remember you would come in with a lot of quotes. You'd be quoting a lot of books and your spiritual stuff, but also things that were focused and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's an art form that is affected by who you are as a person, right? And spiritually, and like there is no script. The only thing you have to go on is who you are as a person. So I always thought like the better you develop yourself as a human being, emotionally or intellectually, that's going to affect your work and just make you a better performer. So I was kind of very studious that way, and I've got now that I'm packing my house and getting rid of books. There's like so many books I have Post-its flagged in, and it was all stuff I'm like, oh, that pertains to improv, or this would fit perfectly for this exercise or that. So that never really went away. Like there's a thing too, like I was getting rid of the Dictionary of Cultural Literacy. I don't know if you've ever seen that book. It's kind of like, hey, these are all the things that people talk about. It's like great for crossword players, It's like everything about the Greek gods or idioms or American history touchstones, or English, like the Battle of Hastings, whatever it is. So the bigger key events. So it's this Dictionary of Cultural Literacy. But there was a time at Second City when they wanted everyone to own that book, and that was kind of one of the things that took me from Chicago. They wanted everyone to be able to reference everything or kind of sculpt your brain that way, which is insane to think about now. I couldn't imagine anybody telling a group of young improvisers, go buy this book of cultural literacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll go out and get that real quick.
Yeah.
But you are moving to England, which I just found out, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe?
Yeah, it moved really quick for us. I went and played there about a year and a half ago. There's a guy, Mike O.T., he used to do Ultimate Improv in Westwood, and when he was really young, he was in the same crop as Matt Jones and Heather Campbell. He was in that crew, and then he actually went over and did Boom Chicago too. So he did the Second City cruise ships like I did 10 years ago, so that's why I like the nice cleanness of this. And, and so 10 years ago I left L.A. for the first time. I sold everything and was ready to leave town. And I met my wife on the ship, and so did he. And his wife was English, like my wife. But instead of me dragging my wife here, he got dragged there. So he ended up in England.
I remember when you left for those.
Yeah.
Because that was when I was in Chicago, I believe.
Yeah, when you were
I was just about to leave for Chicago. I was going to Chicago in 2008 for 3 years. And I think somewhere around then, you were off to on the ships.
Yeah, needed it. I sensed it then. I needed a change.
Why?
Thank God I did. I think, well, this is the fun thing, too, about going through all my life now through the last couple of weeks, like digging through stuff. I got quotes I forgot about this. I kind of undersold how well I did when I was younger. Like, I did fine. Like, out the gate, like, I had commercial agents early, and I was booking stuff, and 2 years in, and then 3 years in, I got... I tested for 2 shows that year before I was 25. And looking back, I'm like, that was pretty cool. That was pretty much a big achievement. Yeah. But it was something I really didn't take stock of because my peers, I don't think, were doing the same stuff.
Right.
And it's just like, people don't want to hear about you testing for shows. Like, they got their own stuff going on. So looking back, I was looking through those questions. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was pretty great. And then I had a good run on Scrubs, and I recurred on Mad TV a few times. And, but I just couldn't get to the next thing. I said I couldn't find fifth gear. here. That's how I described it. And I was doing okay, but I'm just like, this isn't what I wanted. And I was coming up on 30, and I'm like, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to take off. And then Second City called, and they're like, would you like want to do these cruise ships? I said, yeah, absolutely. So I'll go do that. I'll make some money, and then I'll move back to Chicago. I was going to like maybe go into advertising or something.
Oh, wow.
I had started,
You're just going to really...
Yeah.
Wow.
I was down to like a duffel bag and my laptop. That was it.
Wow.
So pretty cool. And I had a bunch of stuff in Dave Holmes's garage. But yeah, so I went, and it was good because then on the ship taught me a lot. It's like you're not performing for LA anymore. You're performing for Middle America on these ships. People who are, they just enjoy entertainment, and they're there to see a show. And it's like, oh, these are the people who watch The Big Bang Theory or How I Met Your Mother and all that stuff that us in LA can't understand. How that's the most successful shows. Like people just like entertainment, and it kind of retrained me to think differently. And I came back to town with a different energy and a confidence where it's like, I'm not trying to impress my peers anymore. There's an audience outside of LA, right? And then that's when my career kind of took off, and I got my first 2 series regulars back to back within 3 months, and it was just kind of off to the races those first few years back off the ship. So it was really nice, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for again, like have another recharge creatively.
A reboot.
Yeah, because you get into the minutia of it, you get into the work, and you get into the
auditioning and
there's that, and then also too, in terms of being creative, you're starting to think about, well, what's marketable, what am I pitching, and that's kind of how I got the last few. I had a pilot made that I wrote a couple years ago that was great, but it was definitely paint by numbers. Like it was based on a story that my manager told that was super funny and interesting, and I kind of built it around that. But it got made. So then cool. It was fantastic. It was Ryan Hansen, Eliza Coop in the leads.
What's it called?
It was called Mid to Late. It never found a home. Nicole Parker came in at the end and rewrote the pilot with me for help add female voice to it, and we had Jill Benjamin in it, and Ithamar Enriquez, Brian Shortall, Jill Bartlett, Brandon Johnson. The cast was just incredible.
Yeah.
It's like all my favorite people from
great improvisers and stuff.
Yeah, so we were able to bang it out. But that said, so that was kind of paint by numbers. So then you start kind of thinking well, what's going to sell? And that's kind of the antithesis of creativity, and it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. So
I think that was the impetus to leave before, because it was I'm just grinding, and I'm starting to feel like I'm grinding again. So
okay.
Yeah.
I kind of feel sometimes I feel like that that's why I do a lot of moving. I'm kind of similar where I'm like, all right, I don't know what to do now, so I'm just gonna move and kind of start fresh somewhere else. And I've done that several times now.
It's so good, isn't it?
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I probably, if I wasn't with Deborah, I'd probably keep doing it.
Yeah.
But
well, you have the option to go to New York and visit and get out of here at least.
That's true.
Do that kind of
I
stuff.
do, and I do that a lot.
Some mobility. That's great.
And then so you met your now wife on the ship.
Yeah.
Was she a performer?
She was. She was a singer dancer on the ship, and I had gotten out of a relationship here in LA, and I was like, I'll never find love, kind of hung dog. And then first week on the boat, we met, which was crazy, because my goal was to kind of I'm just going to have fun this summer and meet lots of girls and have a really good time. And then first person I meet,
she ruins it.
Yeah.
What are the rules for stuff like that? Are you guys allowed to fraternize with each other?
With each other, not the guests.
Not the guests, right?
Yeah, there was a guy, I guess, who got fired on New Year's Eve for kissing a passenger. But then there's other stories too of guys slipping. I don't know. Then there's other people who would meet a passenger and then they'd go into a port town and get a hotel room so no one would find out.
There you go. There's got to be a loophole there somewhere.
Yeah, the tawdry secrets of cruise ship life.
I never got to do that. Did you enjoy doing the sea life?
Loved it. I loved the first one. Like I said, it would kind of re-energize me, and then also too, it's like I had no obligation to anything and no bills, and that was really nice. I know some people where they were still making car payments when they're on the boat because they're kind of hanging on to their life, but I had gone scorched earth, man. I sold everything, so that was kind of cool, So
you really go. You're fresh, nothing, get rid of everything.
Yeah, and this time around too, we had built, the last 10 years, I love our house, and we had got great pieces, our dining room table and our bedroom. We finally found the perfect bedroom set, and all that stuff that you and that's only a year and a half old, and it's cool, selling it, So there's something really liberating to it, to kind of see how much you really need. And
why you move? Was she got a job?
Well, no, I was talking about, this guy, Mike O.T. Yeah. So he left off the ships and he went, and apparently at Matt Jones's wedding, I was drunk and I told him how to get the improv scene going for himself in London.
Oh.
And so he went over, and then he invited me to come out a year and a half ago when I was in London to perform. So we went and did this awesome show. It was like Armando, and I got to do that. Like 200 people on top of this pub up where it's like Angel, I think, north side. And it was fantastic. Audience, yeah. Came down, and the teams were fantastic. They were all like gender equal, and I just loved what they were doing. And it was, it was they're all more acting based, which is kind of what I appreciate more.
Well, it's
and
England, right? I mean, Shakespeare and all that stuff.
Well, you're in the theater town.
Yeah.
So everything too is kind of predicated on in their improv is the awkwardness or subtext, what's not said, and I love that, and I think that's like such a vital part of improv.
Cool.
Everything's not so nail on the heady. So at any rate, the show was over. We were on the night bus. I was going to go back to my hotel, and he was heading home. And he's like, "Hey, man, I just want to thank you so much for this." And I said, "No, thank you. Thanks for having me." He's like, "No, thanks for telling me how to get this started." And I had no recollection of it at all. But I love what they were doing, and I stayed in touch with them. And they a bunch of their actors had come out to LA for pilot season, and Matt Jones went over and directed the series that they created, that Mike created, called Borderline.
Yeah, he was on here talking about it.
Yeah. So that was with a lot of those guys from that group. And then I called them about 6 months ago, and I said, I'm just throwing everything against the wall at this point.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something new and whatever else, just because of the stagnation. And I said, what if I came over there? He's like, oh man, I would love it. I'd love if you came and taught, and you'd be part of the school and you could perform with me and do all this stuff. I'm like, well, that's a really nice invitation. And it's like when you get so many closed doors in LA, to have a door open for you is a really heartwarming prospect.
Yeah.
So I gave it 2 months. I said, I'll call you back in 2 months. And then that's when I went back into pitching hardcore and, a lot of stuff. And I shot a series. I just wrapped a series for Go 90 called Golden Revenge, which is going to be awesome.
That's great.
It's Luke Wilson, and it's kind of making fun of these, Homeward Bound movies where the animals are going back to their home.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like the dark Adult Swim version where the animals are going back for revenge, for being abandoned by the family.
That's cool.
So that happened, and it was fun. I had a great time, and the cast is awesome. Everything's good, but it wasn't the thing that was going to keep me here. So I called him back, and I was like, hey, I want to do it. So then that's what kind of sealed the deal. He's like, great. So we put our house on the market, and it sold in 4 days because LA market's insane.
Yeah.
And it was like over asking, all cash. We're like, Jesus, okay.
Wow.
So that's why everyone found out 2 weeks ago, because literally we put it out, it went, and then we had this escrow to figure things out.
Well, I first had some sign of something going on. Dave Park put up a picture of you and him, and he said, "That's the last time I'm going to hang out with this guy."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And I I was like, "Are you moving? Is he moving?" It was very ambiguous.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, "Buddy." So I think I had to post the next day, just to quell the rumors.
Yeah.
But it was great, and the outpouring of support from that was so fantastic. It was like one of those Facebook, justifying moments where it just 800 comments or something from people. And I think it struck a chord with a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people leaving town right now, actors who are of my age, who had a really good run and things happened for that are just again, wheels spinning, can't figure it out. There's a lot of guys going to Atlanta or up to Vancouver. And
Levin and Annie just left.
Yeah.
They just went to Montana.
Yeah. And, Batat left before, and there's a lot of people taking off. So it was really nice to get that support, but I think there's a lot of people too. J.D. Walsh wrote on the thing, he's like, oh, wait, we can leave? And I think there's very much that mentality where it's this is it. And he called me separately from that. And he's like, no, man, you did what you need to do. You were on billboards and you got in a blockbuster movie, and you've had the successes that people would really die to have. And I am really proud of that. And I not that I'm walking away permanently, but
you're not retiring.
No.
They have movies and TV in England. They
do, yeah. And I hope to kind of parlay all this there. But I'm really happy with what I did with my time here. And also I became a dad, and we started a family, and we did all these other things that are conventional on top of all the crazy stories and everything else that I got to do. So
how'd you like being a dad?
I love it. That's the best.
How old is he now?
He turns 4 in 3 weeks.
And his name's Jarvis?
Jarvis. Mm-hmm.
After
Well, I can't say Jarvis Cocker because my wife wasn't the biggest fan, but there's a little bit of that in there.
Who's that?
He's the lead singer from the band Pulp.
Okay.
So yeah.
Do you say Tony Stark's?
Well, that too. Like hey, your vision, buddy. You get to evolve into the vision.
You're gonna be a butterfly.
I remember that when we had the name, and then when that blew up, when they had that whole thing, I was like, oh my god. I wonder if they'll get this. Like, he's too young now. Like, it'll be years before he's in school. We'll see if, it won't be on the collective consciousness as much. But there was a little bit of that, too. Because, I'm a big comic book fan. So I don't mind him being the Avengers butler.
Oh, yeah. Big comic book. I just saw Avengers for the third time yesterday.
Nice.
So good.
Infinity War.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Yeah, me too.
That was really great. I've seen it 1.5.
What
I saw it once, and then I snuck in after
Gotcha.
Another one, just because I wanted to see the end of it again.
Why? So when you met, your wife's name is Deb, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you guys met, she lived at the time in England or in Australia?
She did
like
in
that,
England.
right?
Yeah, she was in North England.
So when do you realize? Do you go when you're on the ship? Do you just go, okay, well, this is just going to be a ship thing, and then we'll be adults and.
Well, the first contract, in the end, I'm like, oh man, I love this girl. I want to be with this girl, and like I don't know. She's like, yeah, I want to be with you too, and so it ended, and I'm like, well, we got to see each other again, and so we signed up for another cruise to do together. So I ended up doing the second one, just so we could be together.
Was there a danger of just staying on a boat forever? Because
no, I mean, but by the second one, there are things that are just, I mean, it's lawless in a way. I mean, like everyone's trying to keep their job and doesn't want to get off the port, but there's just, I don't know. You definitely like also miss the freedom of like getting in a car and going somewhere.
Yeah.
Even though these boats are massive and there's like 20 different restaurants and all this stuff, and you can get off places, you still feel
cabin fever, right?
Yeah, you still feel very limited.
You still have a tiny room to go back to, right? It's probably pretty small.
Yeah. So then we did that, and then not long after that second one, I had her move to LA, and then it was kind of game on.
And she was cool with that? She was like, because there's probably like, do you want to move to England or do you want to move to Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think she wanted me to go back to LA. She's like, you're great. You're super talented. I think you should go for it again. And so she was kind of like my muse in a way, in terms of like having that confidence to come back and do it. So I credited her a lot to the success I had, or the boon when I came back. And she wanted to come to LA. She grew up fantasizing about Los Angeles and had come out with her family. And her brother had just moved to the Palisades like 6 months before she did.
Is he an actor?
He's not. No, he owns his own business.
Oh, okay.
Well, they lived in Santa Monica at the time. Now they live in the Palisades. So that made it a lot easier. She had family here. He's married, and they have a little girl, my niece, Eva, and so that made it very easy for her to come over and help me out. Yeah,
that's good. So at that point, she comes here, and you're how far into it?
Of us dating?
Yeah,
like a year.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah.
A year. So it's pretty serious.
It was
by
quick.
That point.
And then we got married the next year, and
so you got engaged shortly after. I guess she moved.
Pretty much when she landed.
It's like, hey, this is a pretty big commitment as it is.
We actually got the engagement ring on the second cruise ship. She was up in Seattle, and we got it at like a vintage shop in Seattle because we kind of knew then that it wanted to happen. So
that's cute.
Yeah,
and you just held on for a little while. And
just enough.
So what was the moment that you did it?
There was a day when she thought I was driving her to work, but we drove up to Ojai, and I did it up there, kind of as a surprise. It was funny because she didn't know LA at all, so I kept waiting for her to realize that we weren't. She was working for her brother, that we weren't going to Santa Monica. And it was like, an hour into the drive, she's like, wait, where are we going?
Surprise, I'm kidnapping you.
Exactly.
It's a romantic kidnapping.
Yeah, nice getaway.
And then was Jarvis planned or surprise?
He wasn't. And it came kind of perfectly right when we were in escrow on the condo that we're selling. It was perfect. It was like, well, we got this extra bedroom, and we found out literally like that week when the house sold. So it was like perfect timing.
That's so great.
Yeah. It was nice too. I was saying yesterday to the people who just bought our place, they were writing a note, and I said, have fun. It's a great place. We were in the pool yesterday with my son, and we took him in here for his first soak when he was like a baby, and now he's swimming back and forth to me on the stairs here. So, that's kind of cool.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
You want to have more kids?
If it happens, it happens. Yeah.
Do you know Rob Delaney, right?
Of course, yeah.
He's doing Catastrophe over in England.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll get in on some of that.
I'd love to see. I mean, that show's so fantastic.
It's a great show.
And he's so talented.
Yeah. Did you see him in Deadpool?
Not yet.
Oh, you didn't see Deadpool 2 yet?
That's the hard thing about being a parent. Your movie
true.
viewing goes way down.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's a scene stealer in it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I mean, just in the trailers alone. It's
Yeah.
like, what's that about?
It's so funny.
That's
I'm
great.
like, I know that guy. He was the first person I met at I.O.
Oh, really?
He's the very first person I met.
That's crazy.
I remember walking around because I moved around the corner from New York, basically, and I started walking around the corner. I was interested in improv because I had done some in New York, and I saw Sharna has all these celebrity faces outside of the windows and everything, and I'm like, what is this place? And I opened the door, and it's Rob Delaney and Maggie Miguel.
That's hilarious. So your intro to it was just that you stumbled in. You weren't
Pretty
going
much.
there on purpose.
No.
That's fantastic.
I kind of stumbled into it. I had heard of it through the Tom Shale's Saturday Night Live book. You ever read that book?
Right. I'm aware of it. I've not read it. Yeah.
It's a very good book, and a lot of people talked about I.O. or Improv Olympic at the time.
Right.
And I thought I.O. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's great. I thought Improv Olympic was more like comedy sports because it sounds like sports.
Yeah, because it was initially. It was like an Olympiad. Like
It was
competition. Yeah.
Okay. And so I didn't have really that much interest in that type of improv.
Yeah.
So
Nor did the general populace.
Yeah. So I walked in and I ended up taking classes there right away. And the shows I saw were spectacular. One of the best shows I saw, actually, you were in, and it was a cage match. Do you remember this?
Oh my
It was
goodness.
an epic cage match with you and basically like half of Beer Shark Mice and like maybe Adam McKay and like all these guys. And I forget, you guys were playing against maybe Convoy or some other group that was winning for a long time. You guys just came in as like a one-off.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this?
I think we came in to like see if we could break their title or something like that. Yeah, that's starting to ring a bell now. Yeah.
And it was so fun. It was a completely packed theater. And I think you guys did win, but you guys were like, it's okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We're not coming back next week.
Gave them back their thing. Oh, man, that's crazy. I bet there was probably a lot of the Benner Noah guys in that, too, I would imagine.
Maybe.
I think maybe it was like Ed and, Herbstman. And
There was how many Herald teams do you think you've been on?
Not a ton. I mean, because we were able to. Opening night now has been going for 20 years since I moved here. It was a team we started, Norm and I and Shuley and Wayman Barnes, my first year in LA. So it's kind of cool that we're hitting 20 years on that group, right? So
It's gonna be sad to leave that.
It is going to be sad. We've had a good run. We had a really good run.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah. So I had that, and then I was on I think two house teams with Norm. Every team I was on, Norm was on it, and then I played with Bitter Noah. That was the only thing I think we didn't do together. And then Squadron was a team that reformed like 4 different times. We wore jumpsuits, and the goal of that was so we'd be more athletic and more physical and not worry about ripping your jeans on the floor or doing transformation edits and stuff. And, so that had a life several times over. Wendy Molyneux played on that. And, Eric Honeycat. And Jessica Makinson. So it was a good crew.
But 20 years ago, I.O. was that on Santa Monica at that point? Was that the?
Yeah, we started over there. We were 2 years there before I moved over to the new theater. 2 or 3 years, yeah.
Okay, that's because now you do stuff at Revolution Theater, which
we were just there when Paul started, and now opening nights at Second City. So we moved over there.
Now. Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
So I got two shows left. I'm excited.
That's so crazy.
It's insane. It's so funny. Like today, we're selling furniture. I took something over to Bill Cott's house, and I'm like, there's all these really crazy full circle things that have been happening in the last 2 months, and I think it's all really been like a sign. Like I got invited to a game night party with these guys who I used to hang out with 15, 16 years ago, this group that I don't really see much of anymore. And it's, Jason Weiner and Ike Barinholtz and that whole crew, and up at Nicole Sullivan's house, and JP Manu. And, I spent so much time with those guys. And so it kind of just looped around again that party happened. I'm like, this is kind of really weird, So it's been a lot of neat stuff like that. And then this group too, like saying goodbye to Bill today, and Matt Jones is going to come play next week. So, my last, because he's been such a big part of opening night too.
When's your last show?
The 22nd.
I'm going to try to come.
Please do.
Is it sold out yet?
Don't know.
Okay, I'm good.
Probably not.
I'm going at Second City, right?
At Second City.
Okay, I'll come to that. Wow, that's so crazy. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do at the new improv theater? What's it called, by the way?
This one's called the Free Association.
Okay.
So, and again, I'm putting the cart way before the horse. You know, I know they're excited to have me. There's all this stuff, so I have no idea what to even expect when I get there. But I mean, everyone's come out of the woodwork, and like you got to meet with these agents and these casting directors. It's like it's more love than I've ever gotten here in terms of like meeting with people and getting things set up, or at least all in one blast. So, I'm excited. What I want to do is like I definitely there's a couple live shows that I have in mind that I want to put up, and there's a one-person show I've always kind of wanted to do, but felt like almost too embarrassed to do in LA. It's like everyone knows me too much.
What's the one person?
Well, I think it's kind of
improv or written.
A written show. Yeah. Kind of like the experience of stuff, because I have had a really unique experiences in terms of like, you know, I ran a magazine for James Bond, and I got to meet all those people when I was doing the.
Do you what?
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that. I worked for the Ian Fleming Foundation for a while, and like I did all the DVD re-releases. So like I kind of had all this cool contact in the Bond world, and then at the same time I was working at the Chateau Marmont, and I got stories for days from working there.
All right, go ahead.
Doing room service and everything. Oh,
do your one-person show here.
Oh, I know.
What's one of the craziest stories you would tell in your show from your Chateau?
Well, there's a story I've told on a few podcasts. People can go check it out. I mean, there's a Belushi ghost story from Bungalow 3 that people can.
A Belushi ghost story?
Yeah, because that's where he passed away. And there was a family that was living there. I'll give you the abbreviated version of it. That at the time they were from Calabasas. They were staying there for their insurance had covered them to stay at the chateau. That's how wealthy they were. So they were down by the pool, and their son was looking through the book of Annie Leibovitz photos with her, and it's that famous Blues Brothers photo where their faces are painted blue.
Yeah.
And he goes, "The funny man, the funny man." And apparently, for the week before that, in their house, he had been laughing in the middle of the night. They would also tell him to go get in his crib, and he would magically be in his crib, although he couldn't climb into it. And in the middle of the night, he would be out of his crib in the living room laughing. And you're like, "What are you doing?"
The kid would be laughing?
The little boy, yeah, he was like 2. And he said, "It's the funny man. It's the funny man." So
that's weird.
So, and she, you know,
maybe it was Dan Aykroyd.
It was Aykroyd. Yeah, who did stay there. Dan gave me some great advice one time. Dan,
he did?
Yeah, I would bring. He would order just like a side of sausage, and he'd tip you like $20 on it. Huh. And I said, "Hey man," because by the way, then it was only like 3 or 4 of us on room service, so we got really close with everybody. I mean, I still run into people. I ran into Jerry and Stiller and Ann Mira in Nantucket before Ann passed away. But from across the restaurant, "Derek from the good days of the chateau." And I'd always told Deb, my wife, that. Deb ended up working there for years too. She ended up being like the right hand of the GM. So she moved way up there. But we had a real intimate, as the room service guys, connection with all these people who lived there for a long time. But anyway, Aykroyd, one time I had told him I did Second City and everything else. And he's like, "You writing?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Always be writing. Never stop writing. Just write. And I'm like, "Okay." And that you know, it's like one of those dumb things like, Dan Aykroyd told me to write. But it really hit home to me at the time. I think I was probably like 24, 25. So anyway, the funny man, she always would ask him, you know, why are you laughing? Where else? He goes, "The funny man." And she asked me, she goes, where did Belushi die? Which room was it? And I go, "It's yours. It's Bungalow 3. It's where you guys are staying." And his crib was actually in a walk-in closet that was built over the spot. Because for my first jobs here in LA, I was working at True Hollywood Story. And I saw the crime scene photos. Oh, so wow. That spot in the room where they built this walk-in closet over was the spot where he actually passed away.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Do you believe in stuff like that? Are you a ghost guy?
There's been enough weird stuff like that I'm into it. And I also did a show for MTV when I first moved out here called Fear, where we were locked inside the haunted prison. Yeah. I was in the first episode of that, and that was enough, I think, to convince anybody. There was so much weird stuff that happened. Oh yeah.
That's like a reality show.
It was a reality show, yeah. We were locked for 3 days in this, you know, extraordinarily haunted prison in West Virginia.
You don't think they were like the producer or whoever was like saying
No, I mean they couldn't, because I was smart enough at that point. I was older. The rest of the cast was like 18, and like I had worked in production a little bit. I'm like, there's no way that they could have gotten from there to there, or you know.
That's risk, right? If nothing happens, then they just film 3 days of nothing.
Well, the producer George, for sure, who did Real World. He goes, initially I was brought on to be the comic relief. They'd seen me in a Ben or Noah show. And they're like, oh, come on, and we're going to give you funny stuff to do. Here's these cards, like, we want you to mess with everybody. Because that was them trying to alleviate the risk.
Okay.
So George came in, and he goes, hey, man, this place is the real deal. We just want you part of the cast. I'm like, so no others? He's like, nope. I just want you to experience it with everybody. He's like, the crew, I will tell you this, though. He goes, the crew won't go in there at night setting up cameras. I'm like, okay, great. That was it. Because we only had our own cameras. There was no camera crew.
That's so weird. I mean, if you watch enough horror movies, what if a ghost killed one of your castmates?
Oh, I know. That's the other thing, too, for years after that. I'm like, this would be a great movie. Because a couple of the girls afterwards were still deeply affected by it. And MTV gave them therapy to go to. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Did you tell Dan Aykroyd about that Jim Belushi story?
No, I didn't.
John Belushi?
I never did.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, I think it might have happened after that when he was there. But at any rate, no, it was a good place. I mean, I got to meet all my heroes there. Like, I got to meet Irvine Welsh and Nick Hornby, writers that I love there. And then, Joe Strummer, before he passed away, he had guested on KCRW, and he used to stay there, and he was sat next to the pool with a stack of CDs, and we talked music for a couple hours. I almost got fired that day. So a lot of cool stuff. And then I'd run into Fran Healy from Travis at CVS, and he'd remember, oh, Derek, it's you from the Chateau. Like, hey, Fran, Derek, you're not just a waiter, are you? I'm like, no, Fran, I'm an actor. Oh, good for you, good for you. Yeah.
You're a very talented singer as well.
Well, I don't know about that, but I like to, I've gotten to. The cool thing is like a guy who loves as much as I do. I've gotten to sing now. I've probably done more musicals than a lot of people on Broadway.
Yeah.
Doing 20 years of the show, which is really fantastic. And then also I've gotten to sing on TV. I was on The Wedding Band. I got to be on a show about a band, and I've got songs on iTunes now because of that. So I don't know how good I am, but I'm definitely tenacious about making people think that I can sing or wanting to sing.
Or at least hold a note or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
So how many shows do you think you did? Improvised Musical?
Man, I think it's probably around 1,000 shows. I mean, over 800, because there was a time when we were going up twice a week. For a time. There were times when I left, though, and I went and did the cruise ship, so I wasn't around for, almost a year of it. But then there's also, we do festival shows. We've been doing some more benefits and things like that around, so there are, we do double up on it.
So you average one a week for 20 years, that's about 1,000.
Yeah, so
wow.
It's a lot of improvising.
You think you'll do it out in...
I'd love to. There's a really amazing group there that does it, and they do it on the West End, which is just was always my dream. I'm like, what if we did this a little more legit? And everybody was always too busy for us ever to make that a thing.
To make a tour or something like that.
Yeah, or even to do an off-Broadway thing. And, Baby Wants Candy's been very good at that. They've done Edinburgh, and they do a little more things that are a little more prestige. But there's a group there that does it, and I would love to get involved with them, or even just to do a show would be super cool. They've won an Olivier. It's for doing improv, they won an Olivier. That's pretty cool.
You guys should try. You ever go to Largo?
Yeah, that was another thing too. When I.O. closed, we were trying to look at that because Blaine Swen plays with us a bunch from Improvised Shakespeare, and I was trying to talk. And then of course Mark McConville's in our group, and they do so much stuff over there with Super Ego and all the podcasting stuff that he does, the Pistol Shrimps and that.
But it didn't work out?
Well, no, it's just, again, it's we're all older, and to put the amount of effort and energy into that, and you need a real big show producer, and so it depends on which eggs you want to put your basket in,
right,
or which basket you want to put your eggs in.
I go there a lot now, Largo.
It's such a great scene.
It's a great
so good.
venue.
That was a nice bookend. I mean, when I first moved out here, Largo, when it was on Fairfax, we lived there, man. It was Galifianakis and Blaine Capatch and
they're all still playing.
Patton Oswalt. I know, and they're still doing it. But then it was so great too because the room was so tiny, and we got to know everybody really well. And then for years after that, Zach would always say hi to me places. I love that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool.
When do you leave officially?
In 2 weeks, week and a half.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
What's the date?
So it's crunch time. 23rd of June.
23rd of June.
And then I'm gonna spend pretty much most of the summer in Chicago. And maybe do some
you're going
auditioning.
from here to Chicago.
Yeah, I've got to wait for my visa to go through. And
gotcha.
And then also my son gets to go do summer camp on the lake in Chicago, and we'll be there for 4th of July. And I really miss Midwestern summer stuff here. I think LA's used to it being nice all the time, but Chicago's like street fests every week, and like there's just so much stuff going on. So
do you still have a lot of family in Chicago?
Yeah, we're gonna be staying with my dad and my stepmom, and then two of my sisters are there, and then I've got family up in Wisconsin and tons of cousins, and all my cousins in Chicago, the kids are the same age. So when we go, like he's got so many people to play with, and it's really nice. Yeah.
Are they all happy for you that you're going to England, or like kind of sad?
Yeah, I think my family here obviously is mixed. Like they know that it's a good opportunity and there was a change needed and everything else, and but at the same time, I think they're really gonna miss us. Yeah. Especially my mom's out here now. She moved out about 5 years ago, and I know she's really gonna miss my grandson a bunch. So we got to figure out.
How dare you take the grandson away?
I know. But my sister's got one out here, and she's just about to have her second.
Oh,
so
okay.
She'll have her hands full. She's got some grandkids to dote on. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a big change. I mean, like London weather, Chicago weather. So Chicago's like 6 months of winter, basically.
Yeah.
And then I guess you were saying as you walked in, like London is just rainy all the time.
Yeah, they actually had a ton of snow this year, which is unusual for them. They had like 2 months of hardcore snow, so I hope that gets out of their system before.
2 months of snow.
Like off and on, like it was enough to just be annoying for them. But it was cool to see England covered in snow because they sometimes just don't get it.
Yeah.
Because they get all the even though they're higher than the U.S. entirely. They get the warmth of the Atlantic,
right?
So it's not as bad, but it is wet. It's wet
and damp.
Yeah,
cobblestoney. Looks like Sweeney Todd.
Some parts. Yeah,
but I like England a lot. I've been there a few times.
I love it. When we were there that last time and I was performing, Deb's like, "You're like a different person here. You're like electric. You come alive," and
I do like there. I like the accents. I ran the London Marathon a couple years ago.
Nice.
There.
Yeah.
Some good people there.
Yeah.
It's funny about the improv though. So I know Whose Line Is It Anyway started in England with a bunch of British people.
Yeah.
And then it became Canadian somehow because Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery.
They were Second City guys, so I think they knew it a little bit more, and I think they were able to go over and work, because it was the Commonwealth country, so that was the crossover. And Kevin McShane and
Kevin McShane,
not Kevin McShane,
Ian McShane,
Brian. No, McShane. What's his name? Brian McShane? Anyway.
Kevin McShane
the big guy. The big guy. Anyway.
So I love that there's going to be more long-form improv there.
Yeah, the scene's kind of blown up. It's gotten really cool. Just gotta let somebody into my home. So yeah, no, it's gotten big. And like now I think, it's easy trip to New York from there.
Right.
So with UCB being such a big thing, it's easy for their actors to go over and train and kind of get a little taste of it and come back. So pretty cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I hope I go over there and get to see what you're up to over there.
Thanks, and I hope I'm killing it.
What party will you be in?
Well, we want to live a little bit outside. We want to be able to like live in a kind of quieter village.
Okay.
Like the place we're looking at is like on a town square, and there's a market twice a week, and then the pubs are on this river with the beer gardens on the river, and like that's nice. I like that. That'd be a nice change, because that's the lovely thing you can do there is you can get on a train and be in the city within an hour.
Yeah.
Like, whereas here, you get in your car and you're gonna just go 12 miles in an hour.
Yeah.
And the real estate's no cheaper than that hour away.
Yeah.
Even now, Santa Clarita is barely affordable.
Yeah, oh, that's crazy.
It's insane.
It's pretty crazy.
It's insane. So at least there's that option, to commute and be able to live a little pared down life. I think we lived here by the Hollywood Bowl, and I mean, we love it. We're quiet. We're up in the hills, but I mean, just the second you come down your driveway, you're sat in bowl traffic, and and we're half a mile from Hollywood and Highland, and which is kind of cool. But now that we're in parent land, it's kind of lost its allure.
Yeah. So you have a house there already, or something?
Not yet. I mean, like we just looked at real estate stuff. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But,
that's crazy.
Start all over again.
You mentioned being in a big blockbuster movie. Was that Transformers?
Yeah, Transformers 3.
What was that like being in
Transformers? God, that was awesome. That was good. It was, like Michael Bay experience, that I wanted. It was exactly everything.
Did he yell at you?
Oh God, yeah. It was really great. Well, I was hired to improvise, and it was me, Andy Daly, Scott Krinsky, and Ken Jeong, had a part in it.
Yeah.
And so we just sat in a room. Ken's stuff was more scripted, but the rest of us, they would just come grab us when they needed us. This was for 2 weeks. Just sat in this office building. So I was just there to antagonize Shia, and the stuff wasn't fully written yet. It's Aaron Kruger, wrote that one.
Yeah.
So he sat off to the side. So they'd come and get me, or they'd bring us all out, and Bay would look at us and goes, "All right, Derek, come on." And he'd set you down next to Shia. He's like, "Shia's doing this, and you hate him." And it was just like, okay. And then there were times where I would be putting a scene, I'm like, do I say anything? I don't know. I'm like, fuck it. That's why you brought me here, because I improvised my audition and did this thing. So we'd be in a scene, I'd be like, he'd say something, I'd go, yeah, some snarky back to him. God, Derek, shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Was that Michael saying that?
Yeah, this is Bay. Okay. And then a day would go by, and then I'm sat in a scene with them, and I'm like, oh man, I don't. So he'd say something, and I'd go murmur off the side, and he goes, all right, cool, let's move around, get Derek's coverage on that line. It was maddening. Yeah.
That's
and then there'd be other times too. He's like, he's coming in. What would you say? I go, this. And then he goes, that's not funny. What else? I go, how about no. He's like, that's better. What else? I'd say, he's like,
new
that's
choice.
Good. Yeah,
new choice.
It was New Choice with Michael Bay. He'd ring a bell, ding, ding.
New choice.
He's like, all right, good, say that one.
That sounds funny.
And there was another time too that Malkovich came out, and I had this thing with Malkovich.
John Malkovich?
Yeah, Malkovich was in this one too. It was great. Malkovich's improvs were insane. And I don't think any of them made it in the movie. But he was at a time when the German guy was eating people. Do you remember that? That German.
In the news?
Yeah, in the news.
Not in the movie.
Not in the movie. In the news.
I don't
So he's like, we all need to work harder, otherwise we'll be eating our neighbors, descending into disarray. The world has gone crazy. And just what's he going on about? This brilliant Malkovichian improv. I went next to him in craft services, and I was like, how you doing? He's like, good. And this day where we had done weird, he'd done this putting in the office, and then someone got thrown out of the building. It was a nuts day. And he's like, well, we've certainly run the swath between tragedy and comedy today, haven't we? And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, because that is the most Malkovichian thing that I could have ever heard.
He's so Malkovich.
He's so Malkovich. All the 24/7 Malkovich.
That's so funny.
So that was pretty crazy. That was a fun time on that. I loved it, even though it was unnerving and I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool. And then I got to run from laser beak and explosions, and that was cool. And Bay in that time was laid out the scene, and one of the cam ops was a little slow getting it, so Bay grabbed the camera and he camera opped through the explosions. And I'm like, I didn't give him a lot of credit for that. That was really cool.
That's so fun. What was Shia like?
Shia was great. At first, he was reticent to talk to me because he didn't know if I was background or not. Because that's a whole thing, But I think.
What do you mean that's all
Well,
too many backgrounds?
Yeah, bugging you and kind of wanting something.
Or something.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, I don't want anything from you. I'm just sat here next to you. So we started talking. Actually, we connected about comics. He was reading the DMZ at the time, and I was like, hey, and then we started talking comics. And it was at that time when they were talking about him doing Yorick for Why the Last Man. And I go, you gonna do Yorick? He's like, I can't, man. He goes, I can't do another young guy saving the world. And I'm like, oh, but don't you just want to? He's like, yeah, I just can't. He goes, besides, I don't want that monkey on my shoulder for 12 months or however long it's gonna take to shoot.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I would, yeah.
Because he wrote a comic or something. I remember I wasn't there, but I remember seeing pictures of him in Artist Alley, just trying to sell a comic that he wrote or something, years ago.
I think he did, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but he just had a stack of comics next to his director's chair.
Really?
On set. Yeah. So that's kind of how we first. Then he knew I was cool.
That's cool.
And then he would talk to me after that.
What are you reading these days? You still reading?
I just pick up stuff when I can. I love Saga, and what else did I just read? Miss Marvel, I kind of caught up with that a little bit because I liked that and kind of left off, which is, I feel like to get into anything else, there's so much crossover and everything, so it's a little unwieldy.
It's a lot.
But maybe this summer. But I was going pretty hardcore up until 2-3 years ago.
Do you do the Marvel Unlimited app?
I did, yeah.
It's pretty good.
So,
you don't do it anymore?
I think I'll tuck back into it again. Being a
great.
dad and then trying to balance a career, it's such a time suck.
Do you try to influence your kid into being a comic book nerd, I would.
You would?
Oh, I totally would.
Well, it's fun. The kids I nanny, like, it really helped them with reading. Like, I got them the essential, like, Spider-Man
Right,
as
that's
a
right. You
gift.
used to be a nanny.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so I never really like pressured into it, but like, hey, here's something to read. And actually, like, remember those old comics? It was like mostly dialogue. Half of a cell was description of stuff. So I'd love for him to get into it. I'm saving all his comics. I almost sold them all because I know you purged.
Yeah,
but
I have a lot. I still have.
You have tons.
Oh,
yeah,
I have tons.
But I ended up with 3 boxes that I'm going to keep for him of ones that I thought were special enough to kind of hang on to. And I'm like, well, do I sell these? So I'm going to drive them back to Chicago with me. I'll leave them at my dad's for him. Yeah. And he can read them in the summers when he's there or whatever.
That's good.
But yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
With 3 long boxes, I guess?
Yeah.
I have a lot more of that.
Oh, I know you do. I know you do. Yeah.
I have a lot more of that. Deborah wants me to get rid of more. How are we doing on time?
I think we're getting close.
Getting close. Okay, cool.
But
this weekend you're having a goodbye party / take my shit thing.
Yeah.
That's still happening. How much shit is left?
Just ephemera stuff and toys and bits and bobs.
I'm just gonna come take the kid.
Come take the kid. No, he's coming with us. He's coming with us. The dogs are coming with. And
how many dogs do you have?
We have 2 little guys.
Oh, yeah. That's hard. Are you nervous about putting them in the
Well,
cargo?
we're shipping them, on a week from Sunday.
It's not Delta or...
Yeah. Well, actually, it's pretty funny. My sister and my brother do that for a career. My sister's got this business called Pets to Vets, and they ship animals. So they do that. They're used to it. And they go, and actually, it's sad because United, they go, is the best for cargo pets. It's their favorite client. So they're like, yeah, it stinks that they're discontinuing because they were so good for the cargo portion, not for the storing above your head portion. Yeah.
That sucks. My 2 little pups came from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah, right after the hurricane. Stuff.
Oh, wow.
So they came in like a cargo, of course, and I was so nervous because that is a long flight.
Yeah.
And they had a changeover in Dallas.
Oh my gosh.
It was about 11, 12 hours in that thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were happy to see you when they got here.
I hope so. I was happy to see them in one piece and alive and all that stuff because I was terrified. I was so nervous about them.
Yeah, knock on everything.
I know. It's terrifying. Well, hey, man.
This was great, and this came at a really good time
you.
too, because it's like I've been very pensive and reflective about my time in LA. I'm like, this would be kind of cool to sit down and kind of look back on the scope of everything. And
have you learned anything else in your time here? Your 20 years?
Well, I mean, the thing I always tell young actors, because I do try to mentor a lot of people still, and through the school, I always try to help people with their careers. I'm like, your experience here, as much as we get to do things with other people, and there's so much collaboration, it's a solitary existence. The business is you, and once you have a good grasp of that and a confidence of it, it becomes a lot easier, and to kind of compare yourself to anybody else is going to be awful, well, this guy's doing that, or this person's doing that, or I'm in this category, I'm in that category. That's an awful way to live. It's like your existence is your existence and your happiness is your happiness, and people say it about a lot of different things, but especially for acting. And when I was on Wedding Band, I remember people always going to Brian Austin Green, the people what do I do for my career? And he's like, here's what you got to do. I'm like, well, no, that's not going to work for them because they weren't a star when they were 16 years old. There's things that don't work. Not to say that Brian's advice wasn't great. He was pragmatic and stuff about it. But at the same time, his perspective is just a little bit different than people who slog their guts out, and worked it and tried to hustle. Yeah. And to have side hustles. And the business is changing. Here's the other fascinating thing. Young people come to town now, and I'm like, I'm kind of envious of you because you know the industry as it exists now. Right. You don't have fond memories of how it used to be when you could make $80,000 off one commercial. Those days are gone. Yeah. So you're not sitting around going love one of those again. It's they don't exist. Right. All you know now is it's a $2,000 buyout. That's all I get. Yeah. And that's your life. And that's your thing. And you can decide if that's what you want to do or not. So there is a lot of perspective in that. And it's kind of also trying to embrace that and the change. And
But Dan Aykroyd gave you good advice, write a lot. That's probably practical for pretty much anybody. Even
always be creating.
Always be creating. Always do something.
Yeah, don't get stuck on the Sisyphusian hill where you're pushing that boulder back up and down.
Good word. Oh. That's a good word.
I don't know if it is a word.
It is now. When you're going to London, you're going to learn lots of words.
Yeah, brand new stuff. Boot, lorry, lift.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you. It was good to see you too, man. This was a nice kind of bookend because you were here in my early days and
that's right.
Watched everything progress. So
last time I saw you was we saw a Marvel movie. I forget which one.
Yeah.
I forgot. Do you remember?
No.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
It's like a year ago or something.
Probably. Well, now they're every 3 months, so.
Yes. What are you looking forward to coming up? Anything? Ant-Man's coming up?
I'm excited for that. That first one was so great. And Captain Marvel, I think, hopefully it'll be fantastic.
Captain Marvel.
I'm such a big fan of Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers?
Crush, always. Yeah.
And Brie Larson.
And Brie Larson, double crush.
Do you have a theory of what happened in Avengers Infinity War? And like what's that?
Oh, I mean, it's if we look back at all the different iterations of it or whatever it's going to be, will it cause a rift? Will we get to see the Miles Morales or the Ultimate Universe? Will we lose some characters that are aging out and get some younger versions of them? It's going to be interesting to see. I've read all the theories and I don't know. It's exciting.
None of them are right.
None of them are right. I don't know. I don't want to know. It's like I love going to the Magic Castle. I don't want to know how your tricks are done. I just want to sit there and go, "Ooh, that was great." I just want to be thrilled. So keep thrilling me.
Well, you have anything to plug? You want to plug a Twitter?
Well, yeah, you can. I'm at the Derek Miller on Twitter and Instagram, and then I've got the show coming out on Go 90 in the fall. If everybody wants to check that out, I play a naked, dreadlocked goat herder who's eating mushrooms consistently through the whole thing. So.
Is this animated or what?
No, the animals are real. So it's live action, and then the animals are voiced by Luke Wilson, Ice-T, and Natasha Leggero, and Conan O'Brien plays a turkey. It's nuts. Cool. Yeah.
And you're not.
I'm live action.
You're live action.
Yeah, I'm naked in real life.
Do you do your own voice?
Do my own voice. I do the voice of Birch.
Do we see full frontal? Is it full frontal?
There's a lot of blurring.
Okay.
There's a lot of blurring.
Was that true?
Full frontal coming out.
Were you naked? No, you weren't. You were probably wearing something.
They crafted a sock for me. They crafted a special sock.
Is that embarrassing?
It was, especially at 43. It's like, had I done that at 27, I probably still would have been as self-conscious. But now it's just like, not much good to look at here. Soft dad bod.
Oh,
but at least I got these like 4-foot dreadlocks that obscure, whatever.
Was that improvised too, or probably
mostly? Yeah, because the animals, are doing what animals are doing. Like you have to adapt, and This is the director, was Tom Stern. He's fantastic. He did Saul the Mole Man and Freaked back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's like, hey man, you have no one saying lines back to you. It's all VO later. It's like, so just have at it, whatever you want to throw at it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man.
Well, we will all take a look at that.
Thanks.
And we will be judging your body.
Yes, please do. Send me back circles around what needs improvement.
But I wish you and your family the best of luck in England.
Buddy.
And if I come out, I'll let you know, and hopefully we can get a pint.
Yeah,
all right.
Too.
Cheers.
So good to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. And scene.
And scene.
There you go, folks. That was my talk with Derek Miller. Thanks again, Derek, for fitting me in right before within all the craziness of moving to another country. I greatly appreciate it. It was good to see you. One more time for my plugs. At EJ Scott on Twitter, at EJ Podcast. Also on Twitter, at EJ Scott 1106 on Instagram, EJScott.com. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and on iHeartRadio. And if neither of those work for you, just go to EJScott.com and you can listen to all the podcasts there. Some of them are on YouTube, so you could check that out. I haven't quite figured out how to get all of them on there, so you can check that out. And I guess that's about it, folks. Running Blind documentary on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon. And that will do it for now. Go check out my past podcasts. Lots of great interviews. Be sure to check out my future ones. Lots of great interviews coming up. Some of them I have already recorded, and I am saving for the right time. I'm saving some for the right time. That is mysterious. What does that mean? It's mysterious. I'm keeping it mysterious. So you have to subscribe and check it out. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks again, Derek, and we will see you next time.